Hey students, welcome back. This is our second video and it's all about building the perfect case study. So for case studies, I put this together because I want to make sure you understand how important it is to gather your work and put it together in a case study. Think of a case study as a chapter in your book. So as we look at your portfolio, maybe you have 4 case studies in there. Those are considered your chapters. Now, there's no right or wrong answer as far as how many case studies you're going to put or how many pages are in each case study. So hopefully through this tutorial and video, it's going to give you a little bit of advice on how to build it and how particularly you're going to include how many pages and how many case studies to make sure your portfolio is successful for your portfolio review. So what is a case study? Real simple, a case study is an example of your successful project that you've completed, and it's outlining everything about how you got there. You want to start with the problem of the assignment. What was the thing that you were solving? That's super important. Everything has to have an objective. It can't just be in there for its pretty looks and its great design. You have to have some objective that you are solving and something that you are putting together to be completed. So it's a solution and how you got there and what was your approach. For these case studies, super important to remember that you're only picking the best. This portfolio will act as a first impression for you, right? With anybody like a potential client, this review, anywhere down the road. So you want to make sure you're only showcasing your best work. If you don't have enough, maybe it's okay to have 2 or 3, that's fine. Or if you have the time, challenge yourself to add something else or pick a previous project that might be a little bit weak and bring it back up and strengthen it to be something worthy of a great case study in your portfolio. So always remember this, design is still key. You are creating probably one of the most important communication pieces. This is probably the most important piece you'll be making. Any more important than your stuff that's going to be in it is the overall design of your portfolio. So use everything you've learned in school, all of the design principles of layout, of space, of hierarchy, to make sure that this is super attractive and easily digestible. One important guideline is to choose a layout that will enable you to include all your copy and your images throughout so it looks nice, clean, and fresh. You're going to be writing a little bit of your case studies on here. I don't think you need to write too much. Now, there are 2 ways to think of this. For this, which is your video portfolio review, you will be there to talk about it. So I like to say, be a little light and brief on the copy that you include throughout your pages. What you can do is you can make a second version, the kind that you might be sending out to someone for a potential job. That should have a little bit more information on there because you won't be there to help describe each project. So for this one, going back to your online one, have a few bits of copy in there. I like to add them in as nice visual cues so I know what to talk about when I am presenting this to somebody, okay? So make sure you write them, keep them in your personal, authentic tone and voice, but still be professional. So always remember this too as you're laying this out. Since these case studies are part of your online portfolio or your branded area of expertise, changing the tone throughout might be a little bit too jarring for the viewer. So instead, everything about your portfolio should be based on one consistent style. This will help you create your own brand identity. You're keeping it light on your brand identity, but think of the structure of this piece. You're not changing the layout or the organization of each case study per case study. Keep it clean and simple, and I'm going to show you a few examples of that so you'll understand this more later in the video. You're going to provide some context. I want to make sure that you're including some information at the beginning to help set the stage. Remember, this person has never heard or seen anything about the project that you're about to show. So a little bit of context will make it more relatable to the reviewer. Always remember, you're going to explain the objective very much at the beginning after you've introduced this project. What did you specifically accomplish with this project? What did you solve? What was the challenge that you were given and your design and your case study helped solve that problem? So start with that and we'll get into it a little bit more later on. So here's a great example of maybe an objective. Let's say you have created a fantastic new branding for an online grocery delivery service. Here's how you would word it. Created you've created a brand and for a fresh food grocery delivery service. In that, you've designed the branding, you've conceptualized the web presence, and you've created a series of illustrations to work across their brand packaging. Now, if I saw this at the very beginning, I, as the reviewer, would think, great, I'm going to see a whole new brand developed by this designer. I know exactly what it's for. It's for an online grocery delivery service. I'm going to see some branding and I'm going to see some web design. Plus, this person also did some illustration that I can't wait to see in the packaging. So these are the things that they'll be thinking about. And as long as you deliver, there's going to be a really great sense of completion at the very end of this, and the designer will love it and feel confident, and the reviewer will also go, wow, I got everything that they showed me at the objective. Don't be afraid to mention some of the challenges or those hurdles that you hit along the way. Now, I know some of these might look more like something you would see in a real position or a real project, and I know it might be tough for you as students to say you had some challenges, but think about the things that you overcame. Maybe you were still learning typography and this project allowed you to find the right typography that matched that personality and you were really successful with it. Or maybe it was a tight deadline. Maybe this was a very quick project and you did it quickly. Maybe there were tons of revisions in class, but you still came through and a fantastic new design came through at the end. So think about those things that might have been a challenge and you can put that in there in this section. Don't forget also, you're going to be documenting your process. Sometimes this is the funnest area, and I've seen a lot of portfolio reviewers really want to spend a little bit more time on these pages. So look at it from, again, that outsider's point of view. They've seen nothing about this. So this is maybe the first chance they're getting to see what you did to get to the end. So some things that you can include are your initial plan. Maybe you listed out a plan of how you were going to attack this. Show us that inspiration. What did you find out there? Show your brand board. Don't go too crazy with this. You're just showing a taste of what you looked for. This is a great moment to mention. You should be editing a lot of the stuff that you are putting in here. You don't want to show 5 pages of your inspiration. Just show those top 5 to 6 things that were truly inspirational in your design process. That goes again for your sketches and anything that you show in your thought process. Don't show every single column of sketches that got you to the end. Just highlight the real key ones that show how you changed and evolved. So again, you're showing changes, you're showing any efficiencies that you came across, and your overall thought process when putting together your process for this project. Now comes the good part. You're going to showcase all of the goods. This is everything you've made, all the final hero shots that show off the brand and the project and everything you've done to get there. I'm showing you some very simple ideas, and by no means are these anything to copy. They are just things to show you to inspire you on how to create your own. But I'm going back to that thing about design is key here. You want to make sure they're clean. You want to make sure that your work is the hero. There's no competing backgrounds or props or textures or patterns that are in the way. They are well cropped. You're showing a different variety of cropping. You're showing close-ups and you're showing a lot of zoomed out. That degree of dynamic change and difference is really, really appealing and will keep the viewer engaged. Have negative space. Don't overclutter and put things all over the place. Give yourself nice, comfortable space for where any of your descriptive copy is, and make sure it just looks confident. You know, pull back a little bit, look at this piece, and make sure it looks confident and it's showing off all your work. Here's another great example. It's all along the same lines of the principles we talked about. Clean, the work is the hero, the images are well cropped. I think you can even go a little bit more variety here. You can show maybe something very, very close up in a crop and then something a little bit close back like the ones they have here. There's really nice negative space and it's very, very confident. Look at the text and everything that's laid out. There's hierarchy, and again, it's not competing and it's not jarring for your attention and being big and bold. Let your work be the hero. Now here's another great example too, showing a nice clean layout. Again, we're not making books. I know we're going to be doing online PDFs for this, but think about how you're going to have a consistent feel and vibe throughout. This one does include a little bit of self-branding, maybe by a signature color like that yellow, and it looks like there might be a custom logo there with that R in the yellow square. Don't worry about that. If you're adding a little bit of your brand, keep it very, very light. Keep it very, very subtle. Again, let your work do all the talking. Now, here's a bit of a recap of what the case study components are. I've put them into pillars, and the next page, I'm putting them into pages. So I want to show it to you in two different ways so you are really getting to understand this and we can drive it home. So again, you name the project, introduce that case study. Consider this that first page. This is like that title page you see of a new chapter of a book. Next would be the objective. What problem did you solve? What was the goal of the project? Tell us about it so we know what to expect. Next is your process. This is the fun part. This is your plans, your process, your sketching, everything you're showing about how you got from point A to point B. And lastly is the result. That is all your beautiful work presented super confidently and letting it speak for itself. So if you lay this out in pages, and again, this is just an example. Do not take this as the way you should be laying it out. I'm just giving you the components and the elements of these areas so you understand it more. Your first page, again, is a nice cover page. Maybe you're introducing it by saying Project 1 and whatever the title is. Let's call it Restaurant Branding. This is a great spot to put the objective copy. Tell us again that challenge, and then you can show us a sneak peek of maybe what's to come in this case study. Some people do like a big hero shot of the final image or the final piece on this page. I'm a little bit 50-50 on that. If it's a really great piece and you want to show it off, do that, but be consistent at each cover page. Otherwise, you can do something like this where you're showing a sneak peek of the project, and I'm going to see it, and I'm thinking, wow, okay, I know what to expect. Let's get into the next pages. Those next pages are your process. Again, this is probably about 1 to 2 pages of your sketches, of how you narrow down the process or the design, and any thought process or flow on your thinking. Make sure you are editing this as well. I don't want to see 18 columns of a logo or sketch that look very similar, but there's just slight differences in it. Edit it back and just show us the top of the top, okay? This is your chance to make sure you're only showing us the stuff that is telling the story, but is not too overblown and filling it up that we can't figure out how you got there. And then last but not least is that final result. This is 2 to 3 pages of all of your beautiful glamour shots. Again, cropped nicely, shown in a story. One great tip is to take us through the process. If it was something like this and a restaurant, it'd be everything from the opening area, how a consumer is greeted, maybe it's the menu, then maybe it's the food and packaging, and then maybe it's a thank you mural on the wall. So again, you've taken us through how the consumer would react or interact with this project or with this brand and show it in that style and that arrangement, if that makes sense. 2 to 3 pages might be the target. If it's 4, no problem. If it's great work, no reviewer is gonna not want to see more of it. So that's basically our case study 1. Here's the message on this. Do more. This is your chance to stand out. This is your chance to be memorable. Don't forget, as you are putting this together, you want to make sure it's confident, it's showing all of your process, and your work speaks for itself. Good luck, guys. Can't wait to see what you do.